morning, ladies and gentlemen, and as always, a warm welcome to all our members and guests here today. As you'll be aware, this is our second face-to-face meeting since last year's lockdown, and long may they continue. In fact, our next meeting is scheduled for the 25th of November, so please make a note in your diaries, and details will be sent on shortly. We're also planning our program for 2022 with some more interesting speakers and panel discussions, and of course more networking. I make no apologies for giving my usual reminder about our organization. We're a not-for-profit, non-political, non-denominational membership organization dedicated to the encouragement and facilitation of bilateral trade between the UK and Israel, particularly in Yorkshire and the Northeast. As I've mentioned previously, we're finding an increasing number of links and connections between companies and institutions in this region and Israeli companies, especially in the healthcare and technology field. And I hope you'll all be on the lookout for how this can be increased further. We've got connections at government level, both locally and nationally, to assist any bilateral trading opportunities. Now, according to government figures recently, trade between the UK and Israel was worth £4.9 billion in 2020, making it the UK's 41st largest trading partner. UK exports to Israel were worth £2.9 billion in 2020, including power generators, pharmaceuticals, cars, mineral products, and clothing. The UK wants to have a new free trade agreement to include services in technology, digital, and data. Now, despite Israel being the size of Wales and with a population of just 9.3 million, it's one of the Middle East's biggest economies. And I would imagine that if COP26 had been held in Israel, at least there'd have been a chance to get a wheelchair access for the disabled. Now, as always, I remind our members and guests, we're deeply indebted to our sponsors and partners, without whose vital support we couldn't continue to operate. Our grateful thanks go to our main sponsors, Town Centre Securities and Big Change. Unfortunately, Edward Ziff and Martin Port aren't able to be with us today, but they are our big supporters. And of course, our partners, some of whom are here today: Chef Works, Black Solicitors, Mitchell Wealth Management, Stevens here, Sky Group, Mark Rothwell is here, Fleek Marketing, Johnny Ross, WPA Healthcare, J Life, of course, Elliot's here, the Business Desk, the IOD, Boost Drinks, Manning Stainton, The One Solution, Marshall is here, Marshall Frieze is here, and who will be on the panel later, and the Department of International Trade, and last but not least, my own firm, Murray Harcourt. Also, we'd be delighted to see some of our guests, having enjoyed our meetings, to become members. And if you'd like to become a member, you speak to Jane, she'll explain all about it. And I'd encourage all of you to introduce new members so that we can grow our organization. And our aim next year will be, if we possibly can, if we get the numbers, to achieve a trade mission to Israel. Now, if any of our members have any interesting business stories, particularly if there's a link to Israel, J Life and the Business Desk will be interested in publishing them. I want to thank Jane particularly and her team for organizing Strictly the Masked Singer. Those who went to Wetherby to see it a couple of weeks ago will have had a fantastic, enjoyable, fun evening. You'll have seen the show on TV, and we had members of our community behind the masks, and it was a lot of fun. And we raised money for not only for ourselves, but more importantly for charities with which we're associated. And we hope to run it again next year. Now, at this point, I would like to offer our sincere thanks to Chris Rabbitt and Simon Glenn of Meeow, for sponsoring our breakfast today. Chris and Simon are a good double act, and you'll be finding out more about Meeow very shortly. All I can say, it's as a keen networker, I find it fascinating. But before handing over to Johnny to introduce the panel and reveal all, it's my great pleasure to introduce Jakob Pinsky, the new community shaliach, or UJIA, in a new partnership with Mizrahi. Jakob was born and raised in Haifa, in Israel, to American Olim, that's immigrant parents. He's 36 years old. He's joined by his wife, Ariella, and their 3 daughters, aged 5, 3, and 1. Ariella will also be taking on some shlichut roles. Now, after his previous shlichut in South Africa, Jakob spent the last decade gaining a BA in cognition psychology and IT, and an MA and residency in child and educational psychology. Jakob has many interests and is excited to meet and connect and learn from the various voices of Leeds. So to explain the role of a shaliach, I'd like to introduce Jakob Pinsky.
Thank you for that introduction. Hi, everyone. Some faces I've already met, and I'm happy to meet all the ones as well. Am I good on the sound? Yeah. It's actually an interesting week to be starting here at the UK Business Lunch breakfast. Sorry, the Torah portion that they read at Shul this week is about the worst business deal in history, where Jacob buys the chosenness, the chosen people from Esau for a bowl of children. As you may know, that doesn't go down so well, and throughout the generations, there's this idea that maybe the Jews have this, closed business circle that's doing better than everyone else by cheating people out. So it's nice to see the UK Israel business is booming, but not only in this is a Jews only plug, but as how do we join together? And that's one of the things that being a shaliach is making that connection between Israel and diaspora, not necessarily only the Jews, and keeping it a closed club. My position here is it kind of depends on the community, and I'm still learning it. Alexa here is my chaperone to the community, and I'm learning slowly how things work here. And I'm looking forward to meeting everybody who's interested, and then some, to kind of hear how I can better cater to the community. And the idea is to basically bring Israel to here, and bring the UK to Israel in every way possible, be it business or others. So I'm involved through the different hats that you mentioned in the community centers and the shuls and the schools and the mainstream schools where the children are studying, in order to bring those ideas.
Thanks. So I hope you have a happy stay in Leeds. It's a great city, and I'm sure you'll meet a lot of people. Just before handing over to Johnny, who will have a few more words with Jakob, I understand it's Lisa's birthday today, so happy birthday, and mazel tov on your daughter's recent bat mitzvah. So, and I'm glad you could join us today, Lisa. So there we are.
Is there no happy birthday? So, Jakob, tell us what made you go over?
Well, I promised my wife when we got married that we'd do another stint of Fleek, which is being an Israeli emissary, and we just said, okay, we'll get our bachelor, and then we said we'll just get our master. We'll just get COVID if it comes. So it took 12 years. Yeah.
And what are you hoping to achieve whilst you're here?
Well, generally, you got one of your sponsors, big change. So that's we want to make a difference, be significant. So I mentioned some of the objectives. Basically, we want to make a bigger connection between Jews and their homeland. We call it, come back home when they have, Israel trip. What's the slogan for the UJA? I'm always selling the UJA back. The journey home. We're trying to show them, their roots and their connections. Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Jakob at all? Whilst how long are you planning to be here for?
Well, as long as you have me, but well, eventually our kids will be too old to, they didn't want to come because they like it there and they're there, but eventually we'll want to get back to that. But we after 2 years, we'll probably say a bit more. Yeah.
Any questions at all? When have you started? When are you going to get really started it, stuck into it?
Well, it depends. Yeah, some people say it takes 2 years to know the community, but that's not going to happen. But I think what we're doing is kind of a slow start. So we have already done some events in some of our different hats that we're doing, but we are kind of easing into it. But I'd say that, Hanukkah's coming around. We want to do something then, and so my wife's also much more involved in the school, so she's teaching there every day. So we are kind of, as I said, there are some faces in the crowd I know because it's kind of active already. And one of the positions is through the shuls as well. They have a youth movement called Eljoy. So we're kind of doing things with them, and that connects us to a lot of the younger community that I'd like to be seeing, the age 40 and up as well. So some of the activities in the mass center, hopefully they'll be involved in.
Excellent. I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone to say you're extremely welcome, and we look forward to seeing what you get up to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'd like to welcome our speakers for today. We've got Marshall Frieze, the MD of the One Solution. Let's come up and take a seat. We've got Simon Glenn, who is the CPO of Meeow, C3PO.
I'll find a 3 to put in there somewhere.
And we've got Chris Rabbitt, CEO of Meeow. Are you all okay?
Yeah, great.
Yes.
Just got the 2 mics. I know it's not really helping the room, the mics, but you don't need the mics in the room, but it's certainly helping people watching online. So thank you for those people that are watching online. What was that? Sorry? He's in now. Yeah. Oh no, it's done. So I wanted to talk to Marshall first. If we give Marshall the mic, if that's all right, Simon. So MD of the One Solution.
Correct.
You've brought these guys here today.
Correct.
Which is great. We're going to be talking a lot about Meeow and your involvement with Meeow. But before we get to that, I didn't realize, I know you're in telephoning, but I didn't realize that it was to do with you being in Israel that sort of started that off. So when did you go to Israel, and what was all that? When was that?
So we first went to live in Israel in '83 when I was 15. I did school, did my 3 years in the army. It was always in the back of my mind that I was going to come back to England. Came back, and then when Emma and I got married in '95, we went back again for a year and a half. And when we came back here at that stage, I'd been working away from home and I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was looking for a job, and there was a tiny little box in the Yorkshire Evening Post that said retail opportunity, store manager wanted for concept store. Didn't know what it was, but I thought, you know what, let's just get me working. And it happened to be store manager for Phones for You. And that was how I got into telecoms, just as simple as that. And we became the top performing store nationally, which helped me to progress. Always wanted to have my own business. But it was the education and those people that know anything about telecoms or mobile phone retail. John Cordwell was the best mentor anybody could have. He was fierce, he was hard, but if you wanted to learn, he was a great teacher. And that's literally how I got into telecoms.
And tell us more about Israel. So how long were you there for?
First time, 83 to 89. So finished school. My first year was at an English school in Haifa, where we continued our English sort of O-levels, if you like. Then I went to an Israeli school for lower and upper sixth, the equivalent. And then I did my 3 years in the Israeli army, 86 to 89. but it was always in the back of my mind I was going to come back. And I came back initially to see friends and family, and just ended up staying. And I think the army is, for me, was the best thing I could have done. I was never going to go to university. I was never particularly studious, but the army gave me structure. And I think in life, the best question I ever got asked was, what have you learned from the army? What's the army giving you? And I didn't know how to answer, but I said, I'm sure in life something will happen where what I've done in the army will help me. And those that know me know that there have been a few challenges, and it's absolutely the structure and the mental strength in the army that got me through it. And that's been priceless.
It sounds powerful. No, I agree. Yeah,
Good.
It sounds powerful. What made you go in the first place?
My father and my mother. Yeah, at 15, and Colin will probably vouch for that because he was very close to my parents. I didn't really have a say in it, to be fair. I would absolutely say, if you're ever thinking of going to live in Israel, go, but don't go at the age of 15. No way, because you're just discovering yourself, never mind anything else. And it was very, very tough, but it was fun as well. And my sister was already there as well, so.
Excellent. Let's talk about Meeow,
Yep.
because how did you meet these guys at the end here?
Simon, actually, from, funnily enough, networking. We used to go to BNI, and we were talking, and Simon just came up with the idea and said, you know, I do a bit of meowing when I can. And he sort of said, well, why do we try and meow for Israel?
So we've not explained what Meeow is yet, and these guys are certainly going to be going into that.
Yeah.
It's a vet, isn't it? Is that right? Yeah. But I'll let Chris and Simon explain more. But one of the things that after meeting these guys, you obviously saw it, loved it,
Yeah.
and just explain your involvement with it.
Chris and Simon have what's called ambassadors, so people that essentially don't hold the meetings but commit to doing a few meetings every week. So I do too. I do Monday at 11 a.m. and Friday at 10 a.m. And the idea is that we're going to try and push this into Israel. And I think the attraction for me is because we do business through my business in Israel, and because I know Israel so well, the startup nation, the way that the mentality works over there, this could fit absolutely brilliantly. And we only need a handful of people to get on board and then start talking about it to really sort of snowball. And that's what we're going to try and achieve.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Jakob, I'm sure will tell us as well, but the businesses that come out of Israel,
yeah,
is crazy. So without further ado, let's talk to Simon and Chris. Simon, I think you're going to start, is that right? And we're just going to let you take over. What we'll do is, if you've got questions, you can ask throughout, or we'll ask at the end.
Yeah, just fire them up as and when.
Yeah.
I think if you don't sit on it, just.
Yeah, but don't interrupt me.
You're gonna
Okay.
tell us the Meeow story. So
Yeah,
I shall leave it with
because it's a lockdown story basically. It's out of adversity come, mother invention. What is the phrase? The mother adversity is the mother of all invention, or something. Necessity is the mother of all invention. Thank you. So before lockdown, I spent 13 years running my own design business, graphic designer, away from myself. Chris was a sales director, outsourced sales director, among other things. Conable a chef as well, of course. Let's not forget that bit. And all our new business, every single scrap of it came through networking. I'd been a very enthusiastic, almost painfully enthusiastic networker for about 8 years before lockdown hit. I started my business in the credit crunch. I was made redundant in 2008. And when I first heard the words lockdown, all I heard was credit crunch. And I don't know who else was in business in the summer of 2008, but it was bloody hellish in the creative industry. So I panicked a little bit that my business was going to suffer, or even die. So I started looking around thinking, how am I going to get the networking that I know I need to find the business that will be out there? As Marshall mentioned, I was in BNI at the time, who quite impressively moved on to Zoom within a week. We only missed one face-to-face, only one meeting before we moved on to Zoom. And Zoom was great, loved Zoom, but meeting with 35 people in a Zoom room on a cold February, Wednesday morning, was useless and depressing, quite frankly. I thought, this is not going to save my business over the 12 weeks of lockdown that we need to get through. So it was the fact that you couldn't speak to anybody. Everybody was on mute. It was running through the script that B&I always does, but that became the entire meeting. You didn't actually get to speak to anybody, even the visitors. It's utterly useless. I thought, Zoom good, 35 bad. What would work in this scenario? Zoom is, or the online space is all we've got to use right now. I thought 4. 4 is the tops that this can stand with everybody's mic switched on, and 4 is quite symmetrical as well for OCD people as well, so that'll keep them happy. So I decided to get my own Zoom account, get a Calendly account, if everybody knows what that is, creating your own meeting times for people to choose. And I decided that I would run a 1 hour Meows then, just a networking meeting with 4 people. So I invited 3 people to book on and join me at random. And I called it a Zoom a day, because I genuinely wasn't thinking this as a business. This was just to get me through. I didn't actually care if anybody else got anything out of it. All I cared was whether I got anything out of it at that point. And I started marketing it on LinkedIn. And it was an immediate and runaway success. I was booked solid inside 4 days for a month and a half. People were ringing me saying, your calendar's broken. I can't find any meetings. And I said, where are you looking? Next week. No, try May. You'll find some in May. And they're like, Jesus, it can't have been that popular. I'm sorry, but it has been. It's people are obviously panicking at that point, thinking I need to network as much as I can. And then the first month, during which a lot of success was had on a Zoom a day, especially for me, people started talking about how much money they'd saved and how much time they'd saved and how much stress they'd saved and how little their car had moved, obviously, because there was nowhere to go. And one guy told me that he'd saved £1,200 just in business expenses. And this is a one-man business who used to be in an office, was a web developer as it happened. He'd saved 1,200 quid in 1 day, in 1 month. And it made me realize what have we been doing? What have we been doing all this time? This technology has been around for ages, years. Skype, for instance, I'd used Skype, I'd never used Zoom, but it's been there for many, many years. And we've just ignored it. And we've paid heavily for it. And by the way, the guy that I spoke to said he hadn't actually felt that he'd been restricted in any way in his business. He'd still had all the meetings. In fact, he'd had more meetings as a result of doing them online. He hadn't been restricted. He'd done more business. And I saw the shift, the mental shift in everybody's mind. Like, this can happen. This can work. Chris and I would never have advocated doing anything online previous to COVID. But now, clearly, the world can do that. So I started thinking, could a Zoom a day be something permanent? Could it be like a video version of LinkedIn? Could I do that? And I just had a very small conversation with a software developer. When into the Zoom a day meeting that day came this fella, who I already knew through networking, but I hadn't seen him for a while. And somebody in the meeting, not him, said, "Isn't this great? It's just 4 of us and we can have a conversation," because they'd been to a number of the gigantic Muppet Show style Zoom networking sessions where, again, nobody can say a damn word to anybody. They just have to sit there and nod or do the ironing or do something unsavory in some cases. And they were like, "This is unbelievable. 4 people can actually have a chat for an hour." And I said, yeah, it's good, isn't it? In fact, I'm actually thinking of making it something permanent. And he latched onto that good and hard. And after the meeting, he said, don't go anywhere. Tell me what you've got planned, which admittedly didn't take very long. But he said, this is going to be enormous. It's going to be massive. And by the way, we're not going to do what you've just said, which is gaffer tape Zoom together with Calendly and then wrap some baler twine around it with a website and then pull tight and hope it stays where it is. We're going to build our own purpose-built online video networking platform. And by the way, we can't call it a Zoom a day because we'll get sued. So I thought it was nuts, quite frankly, because neither of us were rich. I certainly wasn't rich. I didn't have any money to invest in this thing. But he said, don't worry about that. We will make it happen. So that was in May of 2020, deepest, darkest lockdown. And at that point, I was running 5 meetings a week, so 1 hour a day. By the time we reached April of this year, we were running 60 meetings a week, so 60 hours a week, with the help of 28 volunteer hosts, one of which was this fella. And we had built our own online video networking platform. So no Zoom, no Calendly, everything in-house, our own IP. And that launched in April of this year, 15th to be precise. We now have just over 1,000 subscribers and lots of lovely businesses being done. Now, at the moment, the platform allows 4 people to meet at random. We are going to be adding artificial intelligence capability very soon that will help to decide how those people are matched. Should make it clear that on the original Zoom platform, we had 1 meeting every hour because that's all we could stand. That's all the platform could stand. Now we can run, and I can't say infinite. I can't say infinite. I said infinite once in front of a software developer. It says nothing's infinite. A lot of meetings. We could run over 1,000 meetings simultaneously every hour, and every meeting, a new meeting starts every hour on the hour, round the clock, 24/7. In the evenings and overnight, I will admit at the moment there is nobody there to use the platform. But if 4 people did want to log on, or even 2 people wanted to log on at 4 in the morning UK time, they could have a networking meeting, which is where Israel and the States and Brazil and everywhere comes in. Australia comes into our plan. Just before Chris gets onto the business side of things, I'll point out a couple of new features that will be coming up soon that will make this an entirely unique proposition. It's already a unique proposition, but we're going to make sure that we seal the deal on the unique element of this. Like I say, at the moment, the only way you can meet is by a single click on the calendar. You'll be introduced to new people. There is no set agenda there, and we decide who you meet. In about Q2 next year, we will be launching an additional feature inside Meeow called Focus, which will allow you as a subscriber to create your own meeting on a subject you want to discuss, whatever that may be. Probably a business conversation. It could be something you are looking to sell, your services that you want to let people know about. It could be a general topic of conversation, some topical subject that you want to discuss with other people who are interested in that subject. Or it could be a cry for help. It could be, I know nothing about this. Please, somebody come and talk to me about how I can solve this problem. Like I say, that's called Focus. And after that, we will be bundling Meeow service that we've got at the moment, plus the Focus. You can create your own meeting service together in a product we're calling Forum, which will be available to much larger organizations, like, for instance, people we're already speaking to, like Microsoft, NHS Digital, and North Yorkshire Education Services. They're all talking to us at the moment about using the product, and it will allow people to do exactly what they do on Meeow worldwide, but within their organizations. We've been asked for this. Can we have our own Meeow to use internally? And the answer will be absolutely. So I'll hand over to Chris.
So in the 30 seconds I have left. Thank you, Simon, and good morning, everybody. Yeah, Chris Rabbitt is my real name, by the way, just in case anyone was wondering if it was a joke. My dad has the unfortunate handle of Peter, and that isn't a joke either. Right, so thank you all for listening.
You used your name to set up an IT business.
We have an IT business called Rabbitt, and my sales director consultancy business was called Carrot. and I had a catering business called Rabbitt Food. And if there's a way I can milk it, then I absolutely will. I wanted to, but the wife wasn't having it. But anyway, so thanks for listening to Simon. It's been a whirlwind of a journey over the last 18 months. We've taken something that we knew was needed and delivered a solution that we believe is going to change the way people network business to business for the future. The difference being is events like this are great, and we've got people in the room that run brilliant face-to-face networking events. Give everyone a wave, Graham. And we're delighted to sponsor Graham's events in the same way that we have this morning, because we don't believe that this is a replacement for this sort of intimate social gathering. Because let's face it, we're people. We like to meet people, and we're not advocating that stops. What we're advocating is that there's a better way to do a bulk of the contacting people that you need to do for your business, and that's what we've got here. So as we move forward, there's new products coming on, as Simon said. But the question I get most, and I'll preempt the person who was thinking of asking this, is how are you different from Zoom? Because we have all this technology already, don't we? And the answer to that is, well, yeah, we do, but not working the way this does. So Meeow, you can forget all the video provision and the sound and the matching and all the rest of it that goes with it. Meow's job is to provide audience. The technology just goes to do that. So if you want to meet 3 people from all over the world, you have to go find them. And you have to make sure that their diaries match yours. You have to make sure that they can meet you at the same time as you want to meet them. You have to go find those people. And then you have to hope that they're the right people, and they're often not. And the difference is that takes a whole load of time. And what you can do on Meeow is jump in 2 clicks and be in a room with 3 other people. You may never make a sale, but I'll tell you now, if you make a sale in a networking event, I would argue you're doing it wrong. Your job's to make yourself as big and as popular and as rememberable. Rememberable. Jesus, you'd never think I had an English literature degree, would you? Memorable as possible to get into their network. And that's what Meow's all about. It's an introductions tool. It's an ice-breaking tool. It's a way to get into people's networks. And it's important that we stress that. So where are we going with this? As I say, Simon said new products on the go at the moment. We are in the process of fundraising. You know, there's no accident we're here this morning in the middle of a funding round. We have a £250,000 raise in process, of which we have 200,000 of it already committed. Some investors actually from Leeds, which after our first round in April, I would say is a minor miracle. Given that when I went to the market the first time to look for funding for a tech product in Yorkshire, it was how bloody much? Where's your product, lad? What can I can't see it, I can't touch it. Where's the warehouse? Where's the product? No. Actually, they're getting it now. So no, we're delighted to have some Yorkshire-based investors. I think the appetite still remains quite strong, or a little bit stronger in London. And I really want to change that. But we are where we are. So that round is nearly closed. If you know anyone with a particularly large tax bill and some spare cash lying around, then we'd love to talk to them about how we can offer a bit of an interesting play with some EIS qualifying Meow stock. So that's really the story. Is there anything I've missed?
We both missed. You're probably all sitting there. Normally when we sit in front of a group of people who are wearing suits, we know what you're thinking. The big question in your head is, how do I speak to the right people? How do I find on Meow the people that I know I need to speak to? We have to answer that question with, you're not really our target market. Our target market are the people that Chris and I used to be. We were small operators, we were people that worked from home, work on your own. The BNI connection, the kind of people that go to BNI meetings, the kind of people that go to 4N meetings, the kind of people that go to lots of different networking events throughout the world. I mean, India is famous for having BNI groups of like 150 members. That's our market. That's our market, the kind of people that just want to network and be introduced to the next person and the next person and the next person until they find the business they're looking for. It's mass market is this. This is not laser guided networking. This is a community we're building. Needed to make that very, very clear. Well, as we move along with focus, the meeting style that you can create yourself, that's where people in your sphere might become a little bit more interested, because you can target more accurately the kind of people that you want to speak to. You will create these meetings and they will come to you as interested parties. And then when we bring focus in, which is the one for the big organizations, then I hope I'm only speaking to people in suits because that's the people we definitely need to speak to on that level. I like Microsoft and NHS Digital.
And I think it's worth mentioning as well, just in terms of market and market position. Lots of investors ask me when we're sitting in meetings is why this market? And I think Sam's addressed that a little bit, because we believe there's a massive need for it there. Not only are 97% of the world's businesses small or micro businesses, but they're the ones that rely most on networking to promote themselves. But there's another reason as well. And Simon accused me of post-rationalization the other day, which is actually working out a theory to fit what bloody hell's going on right now. And actually, I suppose I'll put my hands up to a degree of that, but it's very relevant. Which charity are we donating to today? Colin, would you like to nominate a charity for Graham's £20? Is that the way we're building this community is that for it to be, yes, self-supporting, self-sustaining, but also because nobody wants this market space. Every other business out there in this space at the moment wants to be the next Hopin. Believe me, I'd like to be the next Hopin as well. If I could have a share of a $7.75 billion valuation inside 2 years, I'll take that all day long. But everyone else is trying to follow them straight into the enterprise space, and it's a bloody competitive market at the moment. Whereas if we build a community of small and micro businesses that are allowed that talk to and support each other, when focus is ready, we can bring in businesses that want to speak to that community and allow that community to better serve itself. And then when we bring Forum to market, we have a huge wealth of data about how communities interact in both of those situations that we can apply to an enterprise model to say to businesses, you put this into your business, this is how your staff are going to work within it. So it's a really, really powerful and compelling message that we've got to bring through the life cycle of the product. And 2022, sorry, my COVID calendar is absolutely ruined still. So 2022 is going to be a really, really exciting year for us, and we're looking forward to doing that with our latest band of investors. So I think we're done. So thank you very much for listening. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for allowing us to sponsor a great event. Cheers.
So I don't know if anyone has any questions. Oh, we've got a question from Graham. Go for it.
Team of maybe 15, 20 people or more, and you're offering me a room for 4 people.
Well, we're looking to work with organisations that have got a lot more than 15 people for a start. No, I know it does need to make it relevant. You raised a good point. To make it relevant, it would need to be a much larger organisation, which is why we're talking to NHS Digital, for instance, and Microsoft, and 2,500 schools in North Yorkshire, for instance. They want to speak to each other remotely. That product does need a larger audience, because what we're actually doing here, when people ask me, how are you different from Zoom? I say, people you don't know yet. It's all about introducing you to people you don't know yet. What Chris said, you click on, you meet new people. If you're using Zoom, you have to know the people already to invite them. You have to find them, or their email addresses, or send out an invitation.
Agreed.
Graham's just saying, for people that are watching online, that you're targeting people that already know, who want to meet each other, who want to invite.
Agreed. And if you've got a team of 15, I would argue this isn't the product for you. But I was talking to, here we go, just wait for the clang as I drop this name, talking to the lead counsel for Fidelity Investment Management last week as we walked our children by the River Wharf. And after we'd let them off the lead, we started talking about business. And he was saying there's 100,000 people within Fidelity, and he knows about 50. And he's one of the most senior lawyers in the business. And he was saying that this sort of thing is something that takes an enormous amount of work in businesses right now. So Hopin's a great example. They're a fabulous product if you want to run an event. I'd say it's best of breed at the moment. They're a wonderful business. They go a long way to justifying the valuation that they've got. But you've got to peddle that meeting, or you've got to peddle that event. You've got to make it work. Graham's run events on Hopin. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And you also have to bring the audience to that party. Whereas the forum product for larger businesses is an ecosystem they can inhabit. And we know from what we're seeing with Meeow at the moment, that if you allow that, if you provide that environment, people will populate it. You put the focus piece in as well, then you can actually create meetings about subject matter within those businesses. And what it does is allows huge businesses, I see we have a non-executive director of the Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust with 20,000 employees, most of whom don't know each other, Georgina. But it allows those communities of people that don't know each other to benefit from the people you don't know yet. 5-word mantra that we're going about is you put yourself in a space where you meet people within a business that you wouldn't already know. It facilitates that cross-culture, cultural, the promotion of a good culture. There you go. I'll get it out in the end. It gives you the sort of water cooler moment that we're losing now. Businesses are going back to the office, but they're going back with 30% of the headcount at any one time. We're losing out on that ability to spontaneously spread ideas, culture, relationships, all that stuff. And what we're trying to do is put that back in a way that is easy and doesn't require a huge team to administer. And that's the crux of it. It's user-generated content.
Yeah, plus businesses that have got offices in different cities or even different countries, people that would literally never meet if it wasn't for the online space. That's the market for this. And we've been speaking to people in the diaspora movement, a guy called Kingsley Aiken, who is the chairman of the Networking Institute, and he's big in the Irish diaspora community, and he wants to use the forum product to help bring diasporas from all over the world together. So it's really that bringing together of people who don't know each other yet. That's what forum is. That's what Meeow is about in entirety.
Do we have any other questions? Colin's got a question. Just hold on one second.
Hi. I've used Meeow, and I think it's very good, and especially for late night people like me. You can go on it and you find a couple of people on it who were in Austin, Texas, because of the time difference, which helps. But how do you stop meeting people that you might know who you don't particularly want to speak to? I know that the probably odds are in your favor, if you're just going in, but there's only 4 people, and one is probably it could be interesting, a volunteer facilitator. But the last thing you want is 1 or even 2, the other 2 of people that you know. So is there a way around that?
It's interesting because I think that entirely depends on your point of view. I was talking to someone yesterday, actually, a Meeow user and actually a Meeow investor in this round. Someone we didn't know beforehand. We met on the platform, who's decided to invest through his business. And he was saying that sometimes the familiarity is comforting and comfortable and enjoyable because you get to deepen that connection. And I think the simple answer, Colin, is at this moment in time, the community size and the usage within the community means that you are going to meet some people again, just as a natural way of things. People tend to be creatures of habit. You go in at the same time on the same day of the same, on a regular basis, you're going to meet the same people. But as the community grows, the chances of that happening are less and less. And once we've got the data to plug the AI in, once that community allows us to do it, you'll never meet anyone that you don't know. Sorry, you'll never meet anyone that you do know. Or you've already met. It's about being able to make the best use of the community we have as we go forward. But yeah, that's the simple answer.
So I'll take some questions if anyone's got them online, but I know I've got a couple more questions here, so I'll go to this gent first. What's your name?
Levi Fowler. I was just wondering, you mentioned that people who are in suits per se aren't necessarily your target market, because they'd want to focus on the people that they want to talk to or pick the people they want to talk to. And your target market is people who want to just come on randomly and just meet 3 other people that they don't know yet. So why is it that you're shifting your energy to focus on the people who aren't your target market to create focus?
Focus is definitely for you because it allows you to create meetings on your own agenda. Forum is the product that's designed for much larger businesses. So Meeow, as it stands right now, is absolutely for the small business, micro business, solopreneur user, to enable them to get all the things you would normally get from networking without going anywhere. That's what Meeow exists for, and will always continue to exist for that. Focus is the bridge between that community and businesses that want to offer services to you, or for you to offer your services very specifically to the community, or for you just to say, hey, I want to talk about cheese this afternoon. Any cheese lovers in the building? Let's have a talk about what your favorite crackers are. You know, it can be that insubstantial, but whatever you need, there should be an audience out there for it, and that's our job, is to provide that. So when we say people in suits, what we're trying to say is, you know, if you're an investment banker or a corporate lawyer, then there's probably very little benefit in you being on Meeow unless you just fancy a good chat with interesting people. You know, because you don't move in the same circles. But we all know that networking doesn't come from talking to the person in front of you. It comes from talking to the people indirectly that they know. So my job is to meet in the networking meeting is to give a good impression to Mark, so Mark can introduce me to the people he knows. That's what Meow's all about.
Did we have any questions from any of our online audience whilst we're I was just wondering, seeing if we can make this a bit more hybrid. If we do, just let me know. Just take your mic off and start talking. But first, I'll go to Darren Stone.
Thank you, Darren Stone, Leon and Company, Chartered Accountants. Actually, the question has partially been answered in the last one, but it was really an extension on Colin's point about how do you avoid meeting people that you don't want to meet with. But let's just extend that further. I'm thinking industries. Is there a way, especially in the current Meeow, it won't deal specifically with industry matters? Is that something that could be extended to Meeow? Here's the illustration. I've turned up at networking events before, and I'm an accountant, and the worst thing I could imagine is spending, perish the thought, a room full of accountants. Obviously that has its advantages if you were going to be on the new forum, because you might go, can we have a meeting with 3 of our accountants who've got a tax issue? That's not what I mean. If you're growing your business as an accountant, you're generally not really interested in speaking to other accountants. I'm sure that extends to other sectors. I wonder if...
So along the lines of what Chris was talking about, when, as you say, partially answered by Colin, when the database is big enough, when the subscriber levels are big enough, we will be turning on the feature that prevents you, if you wish, prevents you from meeting people you've already met on Meeow. Yeah, it's already there now, but like we said, the community would have to be much larger. In the same way, we will also have a no two, a bit BNI, but no two of the same sector, the same job title in any one Meeow. So that's covered off.
Brilliant, thank you. Anyone online? Okay, I know, I'll come to yourself as well. We've got one from Graham.
Hi guys. One thing that kind of strikes me is that how do you vet people that become subscribers? Because you get some Looney Tunes out there that might just want to kind of get in there, and then you end up being completely embarrassed or completely insulted by people. Is there that facility that you have in data protection etc., which is very, very important. Certainly in my industry, financial services, where you're opening yourself up to all sorts of issues.
The simple answer is yes. We do have things that. What I will say is there's been no instances of nudity on Meow yet, and some people think that's a bad thing. But no, it is a community that polices itself. So when you're in a Meow, let's say Darren starts to behave poorly in a Meow, and you disagree with or you don't like what Darren's saying, there's the ability to report Darren for a variety of examples of poor conduct. But we all know that offence is very subjective. So if someone else happens to report him for the same thing, Darren will immediately be removed from that meeting with no explanation. He'll just be removed. And it's, well, to be fair, we invented the feature with you in mind. So yeah, it's a self-policing system, and we respond and react to every report. But I'll be honest with you, we've never removed someone from a meeting yet, which I'll be honest with you, I am entirely surprised about. I thought there's usually a good chance of attracting certainly one or two bad apples, but it just simply hasn't been the case yet.
Maybe our final question, I could take maybe one more after this, but just give your name.
Good morning, David Strawn. I'm interested to learn, how do you, as the business centre, generate revenues from Meow? Is it purely through subscription charges from members?
It's a good point, and a very apt one at the moment, as we're having a discussion about how we take the revenue thing forward going in over the next few years. But yes, at the moment, Meow is a subscription model service. Your subscription is £9 a month for an all-you-can-eat access to the platform. So you can have 24-hour-a-day access and use for £9 a month. As we move forward, the plan is probably to go freemium at some point in the future. And that's the conversation we're having now, is the exact point when that's going to happen. Because as we bring in new products, we bring in new opportunities to generate revenue. So we're trying to work out how quickly we can go freemium, because once the base product becomes free, then we see it as a sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy in terms of having that community size to feed the upward channel into focus.
Yeah, we want to make Meow, especially at the base level, freemium or free as soon as possible, because our hopes for the platform are for it to be a center of conversation. There is no written feed or postability on Meow. There's no, you can't post anything in written format or pictures. It is all about conversation, and we want it to be as accessible as possible to as many people as possible, so that they can use it for conversation. And I don't know, be quoted on BBC News or something. Today this subject was trending on Meow. That kind of Twitter kind of level of usage. That's our hope for it.
Excellent. Oh, we have one final question. I'm going to take one final question.
Harvey Ross. You mentioned before one of your competitors, Instep, have a valuation of over 7 billion. Do you envisage yourselves growing to that level? And if so, at what stage or
of course
what period, please?
I daydream about that regularly, Harvey. There's no, when you look at the available market and the potential of the available market to generate revenue, there's absolutely no reason why not, is a simple answer. Any further than that would take me way beyond my sort of abilities to predict the future. But yes, there's absolutely no reason why not. Our hope is to make this a ubiquitous product, something that no small business owner can be without. No business who wants to engage with that community can afford to not use, and then to have the forum product embedded in some of the world's biggest businesses. So yes, is a simple answer.
We jokingly once said, how do we get this very simple concept across to people that we're speaking to, because they tended to be struggling a bit to understand what we were talking about. And I said, well, it's like if LinkedIn and Zoom had a baby, they'd call it Meow. And that's exactly what we're looking at. We're plugging Zoom into LinkedIn, something that size, and LinkedIn has 600 million members. That's the kind of size we're looking at. So absolutely, that evaluation of that strength is, in our opinion, entirely possible in not too many years.
Excellent. Well, a huge round of applause for our panel and our speakers. Thank you very much indeed. I didn't have time, but I was going to explore with them crowd fundraising. If anyone is interested in crowd fundraising or wants more information, you should definitely speak to these guys before you do anything. They've got a story to tell there. But at the same time, it's been a nice stepping stone forward for them as well, even though it might not feel like it. So thank you so much. Colin's going to talk in a second. I just wanted to say a huge thanks to people that are watching online. We can see a couple of you, but a lot of you have your videos off, which is fine. But thank you for joining us. And I'm going to hand it over to Colin. But once again, thanks for the panel.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you enjoyed that. I told you they're a good double act. I've used Meeow. I think it is very interesting. And I would imagine the Israelis will love it. You know, if you've got more than 4 Israelis, you can't get a word in edgeways. But I think they will love the idea. As far as crowdfunding, and you touched on it, raising funding for small companies. Well, that's for another day, because we could talk all day about that. I hope you all enjoyed it. We look forward to seeing you at our next meeting, which I think is on the 25th of November. And we'll send out details for that. So do stay around, finish off the food, do some face-to-face networking, learn a bit more about Meow, and look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks very much, Johnny, as well, for your